Greetings, everyone, to the May iteration of the monthly Zone 33 Innovative Club Advocacy, better known as ICA Call. My name is Sean Sawyer. I'll be serving as your team lead for the purposes of this evening's gathering. I'm gonna, once I get done talking, I'll make sure everybody that needs to be a co-host is. I welcome everyone here. I see certain dignified people, but I don't know that I see dignitaries in the Rotary sense, other than perhaps our sitting Rotary coordinator prior to the M, Terry Weaver. Terry, welcome. Thank you for being here with us. Beyond that, I see a hodgepodge of people. I appreciate everyone being on the call. Our director, Patrick Eakes, is doing God's work in the ivory tower of Evanston this week. I don't think he's going to be able to make it on the call, although his portion of these calls is relatively short. So you may not notice the difference time-wise. As we continue to let people in, if I see anybody needs recognized, I'll be sure to do that. To start us off, let's just recap a little bit of the last call. And remember, you're always able to view recordings of those calls, the links which are shared in the recap emails that ordinarily go out. But you can certainly tune into the ICA call playlist on the Rotary Zones 33-34 TV YouTube channel. And I will put that link in the chat throughout the call. Without going into great detail about what we did last month, it's pretty simple to recap. We combined accountability with the premises of coaching and assistance. We started with a reality check of the spreadsheet. We talked about how the team and its members can assist each of you throughout the month, not just monthly during these calls or soon after. We also explored interest in creating a new reporting mechanism, which I think is going to come perhaps even slightly necessarily as a result of the rollout of the new North American Club Creation Team, which I think everybody on this call has at least started to hear a little bit about. And then we kind of finished off our call with two success stories, one each from District 7600 and one from 7750, excuse me, both of whom are again represented on this call. I appreciate you being here as well. So let's get started. Let's do a little facilitated sessioning, if we will. It is post-pets season. Don't everybody applaud at once. Yay. Got that in the rearview mirror. And it's now district conference season. So we're all busy in at least one way. We're all tired. I get it. But this is not the time to be taking our feet off the gas pedal. We've got just under 60 days to finish off strong. And there are any number of people on this call that I'm sure if they weren't muted would give an amen to that concept. So for this month, what we want to do is talk about a few relevant things. And we have very strategically scattered the Zone ICA team members, each with a portion of those messages, starting with our friend from the District 7680, past District Governor Mike Walker. Mike, you want to kick us off in some of these segments, please, sir?
Thank you, Sean. And this is really more about deadlines leading up to the end of the year. And the deadlines are we're a little more pressed for time this year because the convention is later in the Rotary year than normal, just to make sure there's no snow in Calgary when we get there. And so the opening ceremony in Calgary is Sunday the 22nd, but pretty much I think after I wouldn't count on a whole lot that week before because RI staff will be pretty busy. So I think pretty much after around the 13th of January or June, don't count on much being processed. You can count on that, but because of that, final buy-in and board approval and recruiting should be really ramped up now, and with potential clubs and hopefully having all the recruiting completed, the minimum of 8 members if it's in Rotary parlance a satellite club, and to have everything in place with the roster by around the 6th of June and have the application into RI by the 10th, so they have a chance to process it that week before some of them head out of town for the convention. And so any questions on that? We can certainly answer those questions and work with your zone ICA person closely on that as you get closer to kind of finesse that. And if we need to make a contact in RI to move it along a little faster, we're happy to do that, of course. Sean, would you like me to kind of take the next topic?
Sean, you're muted.
If you would like, Patrick Longano, one of our team members, of course, he and Chris Jones are tied up on a different type of call. They told me they were going to be late, so if we need to fill in the gaps
Okay.
until they get here,
So,
we are welcome to do
some of the dates, the next topic we were going to talk about is if anyone has a club in the queue that they would like to talk about and to share with the call and especially if there's something where you feel like you could use some input from people on the call. And you've got a lot of expertise here. If you're in the middle of something that you're trying to get done by early June, we would love to hear about it.
All right, we're not going to stand for crickets. I'll start picking on people. If you've looked at the spreadsheet, and I know who you are, because I also know who hasn't been, you will see that there is a plethora of opportunity in those information columns of new clubs that are in the process of being created. So there's got to be a reason why they're not green yet, right? I mean, there's got to be a reason why they haven't been formed. Anybody have an experience they would like to share as to why maybe that hasn't happened yet, or what they're in the process of doing to better ensure that it does happen yet? Dana, I saw your hand go up in the air. You want to share a
So
little
we
bit?
turned in the paperwork, I think 3 weeks ago for a new satellite club, and we're just waiting to hear back. So we started a satellite club in Boonesboro, Maryland, with 8 people, and our Williamsport, Maryland club is sponsoring it.
Fantastic.
We haven't filled in the chart yet because it hasn't been, I haven't got the okay or whatever.
So it sounds like maybe the dates that I put out there are pushing the envelope too much if you're waiting 3 weeks to hear back from RI.
Yes.
That it probably ought to be, the applications probably ought to be submitted by, well, certainly in the next 3 weeks or so, and to have one of us call and finesse it in RI to make sure that it gets handled by, that we know somebody's dealing with it before the end of the Rotary year.
Yeah, maybe like 1 June instead of 10 June.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I can speak to some success stories on RI processing if you'd like me to.
If I would love for you to share your glee with everyone, because I have already heard about it. It's tremendous. If you don't mind, Ross has his hand up. Ross, anything you'd like to add to that before we move to Rich?
Thank you, Sean. I would just say quickly, we've got a situation in District 7670 that is not a new club, but I think it was Ben Franklin that said a penny saved is a penny earned. We're trying to save a club that was getting ready to turn in their charter. And we had an event last week, essentially a Discover Rotary event, and have 18 new prospects for that club to essentially reboot it. I'm thankful for Terry Weaver and others and for their guidance and how best to do that, because it is a different kind of situation where we're essentially starting a new club with an existing charter. So we're hopeful. We've got an organizational meeting next week, next Thursday, with the folks that have expressed interest in being part of this. If you got advice on that, I certainly welcome it. And again, thank you to Terry and others for their guidance so far.
Great news. It's I mean, that's part of the messaging that we try to send out. Not only are we looking for brand new opportunities, but sometimes you're looking for a rebranding opportunity. Terry Weaver has historically put out promo and marketing materials that talk about reboot and regroup and revise and research. And it sounds like that's not any different than what he has helped guide you through as far as bringing new life into an old club, right? Great. All right, Rich, time to show off. Let's hear it.
Well, it's about time our district gets to show off, for the record, because we have not been terribly productive, but I'm shooting for 9 clubs in 9 weeks or 10 clubs in 10 weeks. Right now, we got 4 fully formed, 4 in the process, deep in the process, and another application waiting, possibly a number 10. But a shout out to Rotary International. I mean, the Petersburg Club application got to Rotary on April 9th. We got their welcome letter on April 18th. So I was 9 days later. And the Warwick City Center, they got it on the 25th of March, and they gave us the welcome letter on the 16th of April. That was less than 3 weeks. And Norfolk, they got it on the 15th of April, and they gave us the welcome letter on May 2nd. So right about 2 weeks. So as little as 9 days, 2 weeks, and another is 3 weeks. So have seen some quick turnaround times.
It may be partially related to, the volume of work that's being done at RI on other things. I mean, we are in the post pets and interim
Right.
conference and about to go to Calgary mode. And I'm sure all those people are doing a little more than just standing around waiting for something new to do. But while I've got you unmuted, Rich, do you care to share a little bit about what you believe may have been involved in being able to identify so many opportunities for new clubs to be created?
It was innovation more than membership. I would have to tell you, we tried things the same way to inspire clubs to create a satellite club, call it companion, call it impact, call it innovative. For 4 years, we created one club, 8 members. I'm not sure they even ever met as an 8-member group, and a couple years later they were disbanded. They were an e-club. And the first 6 months of this Rotary year, same old, same old. No traction, a lot of lip service. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea, something we should probably look at as a club. I follow your lead, Rich. Okay. And so for the first 9 6-month periods of the program, we were frankly flat. And so I came to the conclusion in the middle of December, the best time to formulate these clubs is the first 3 months of the new calendar year, January, February, March. It just seems like the best time. It's after the fundraisers, after the holidays, and before the change of leadership. So I came up with the concept of March Madness, and it sounds catchy, but I got to tell you, the results followed. The enthusiasm, the requesting the district membership committee leaders, membership committee members participate, getting the area governors involved. You guys, UAGs, you are consultant number 1. You were an assistant coach on that team, if I overheard it. So we used some catchy basketball jargon, and it caught on. And I don't think it was a fluke. I think it was due to highly intentional, out of the box, different way of thinking. And I don't see why it would be any different next year. I mean, next year I'm going to shoot for a dozen. So, but I think the key for us is it's been a very, very focused, all hands on deck, district governor on board for that January, February, March timepiece.
Rich, let me ask you one more question, and then Albert, I see your hand up. We'll go to you. Was there anything unique about the way that you communicated this messaging to
Yeah.
the clubs in your district this year, which produced great success versus maybe the way it was done in past years when it wasn't as successful?
Yes, instead of emails. Okay, it's their 177th email of the day. every couple, 3, 4 weeks. Video. I make videos. I make brief videos, typically no more than 2 minutes. And I send them out to the district staff, especially the area governors. And I think I sent one out to all the Rotarians. But the video, I got so much more feedback after making a video, after sending a video out, than just another email. Got to tell you, that's where we're at, guys.
Excellent. I'm glad you have the capabilities of doing that. I myself have been told I have the perfect face for radio, so I'm not sure that would work in my district necessarily, but nevertheless. Albert, you had your hand up, sir. What do you have to share?
Well, couple things. Number one, dealing with RI, it did take me the first time about 3 weeks to get it done. And here's what I discovered. RI is just like the DMV. You get all your paperwork together and they tell you, you forgot form 732-191744. Like, where's that form at? Oh, well, here it is. So once you get all your information together, it goes by pretty quick. And I also have a contact there that I call Sonia every time. Look, I'm sending one in. What else do you need? You also, once you learn their vernacular, it makes it easier too. This is a companion club. Well, we don't do companion club. We have to send it in as a satellite club. Okay, we'll call it whatever you want to at RI, but here's what we're going to do. And once you got all that, it's gone very well. So we've gotten 3 under our belt here in 7750, which we're really proud of. We've got 2 pending, and I use you, Sean, as the bad guy. I've got this call with Sean Sawyer. I need to get these numbers updated. What's the date? So I throw you under the bus quite often, and I like driving that bus with you, Sean. So just to let you know that.
I do not mind being used as a teaching tool. Albert, you continue to throw me under the bus anytime you'd like.
Hey, it's worked. So we got one that's supposed to be converting over May 15th. And of course, I know it's going to take some time for them to get it into to Rotary International, but I've already sent them the forms and got that down packed. But the other one we actually pushed out. It's going to be October of this year, so I know it'll be in the next Rotary year, so it'll roll over to Roger. But keeping up with that spreadsheet really has helped me because I forget. I've got all these other things going on, and quite frankly, I forget. So that has been very successful for us. And the professional development program, that's the cat's meow for us right now. And that one really has taken off. And we got another member that we're going to add later this month to that team.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And Rich, thank you. And everyone else that's contributed so far.
Hey,
Michael?
Sean, I look back at my emails. I sent it on the 23rd. It's only been 2 weeks. So,
Oh, awesome.
yeah.
So Albert made a good point. As far as Rotary is concerned, whether it's impact, whether we call it impact, satellite, or companion, to them it's satellite. That's the official Rotary terminology, and I assume that's it. So everything is satellite to Rotary.
Yeah, that is it. And I certainly would defer to our director to share the latest intel from above as to how that process, or maybe some of the labeling or the paper shuffling is in the pipeline to be improved and streamlined. The rumor is that is being contemplated right now by the powers that be. I don't know all the details. Again, I would defer to what Patrick can share because he obviously is more in touch with what's going on both ends of the equation. But I think we may all stand to soon see a time where it's not just one way and it's not Form 793.6-3 and whatever it was that you said. I think there's a real push to simplify this process. And that's consistent with one of the things that we're going to talk about here moving into the call in a little bit. But in the meantime, I think I saw another hand up, but I don't see it now. Was there anything else anybody wanted to add?
That was me. That was me, Sean. I was just going to say what you said. I mean, we got to do better on our messaging right now. It's not great when it comes to innovative clubs. People don't know exactly what to call them. They don't know what they are. So the fact that they're doing something on that, good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially at the zone level, certainly in 33, there's a real push to, kind of separate the wheat from the chaff and not encourage people to water the weeds as much and try to make not just the membership process simpler, but all of them simpler. Some aspects of Rotary have been very fortunate to see that happen. And I think we're, as membership oriented people, due to be part of that next wave of, streamlining the process. So I think you're right, Mark. Anybody else have any thoughts they'd like to share with that? If not, that's actually a perfect segue into part of the discussion that I think our team Al DeLucia intends to leave as far as what's going different angles. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct.
Mike is yours.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate that. I can't let an opportunity to brag a little bit also go by. My district is forming one more impact club with 14 new members. The Rotary Club of White Oak is forming an impact club. Actually, they're chartering on Thursday. So that's great news. But speaking of new clubs, what was it, Sean? 2 weeks ago in Chicago was the Council on Legislation. And there were a lot of proposed enactments, and one of them that was proposed, voted on, and passed was the lowering of the requirement of the minimum number of members to form and charter a new standalone club. It used to be 20. That number has been lowered now to 15. That will be effective July 1st of this year. So with that information, we look at that, and I'll ask you, do you see, what do you see as advantages of being able to convey a message to your district and the clubs in your district and potential members in your district about being able to form clubs easier with fewer members than you have in the past? And I will open that up to anybody that would like to comment.
I'd just like to hear feedback if people think they would now pursue forming full-fledged clubs more likely. Would that be more likely than it was before versus a satellite/companion/impact club?
Rich, I see your hand up. Go ahead, sir.
Very good.
Regarding the 15, first thing came to mind is, wow, they only need 15 club members to form a club. Holy Hannah, that's going to make it way easier. But then 3 minutes later, I woke up from my nap and realized, a club who only forms with 15, the bare minimum, will probably be down to 13 after year one. And then when potentially 12 members at the 18-month mark, and when clubs get down to that 12, 13, 14 member mark, they can sputter because everybody has to do everything. So positive, and I see positive and negative. I guess in a perfect world, nobody would come to us for a new club with less than 20. That's me.
Ken Fleeson?
Yeah, thanks, Al. And I agree with Rich's comments. But I also look at what we've discussed in the last couple of these ICA calls, which is overcoming objections. And as we all know, there are a lot of areas within our districts that are underserved by Rotary. And what we ask the existing clubs to do is to reach out into those underserved areas and consider doing a satellite club. And then we get met with objections as to why they can't do that. I just think this is another tool in the tool belt for the district membership committees, working with the ICA to go into those underserved areas to see if there isn't a potential for now starting a club with a lower minimum number. So that's the way I view it.
Okay. Thanks, Ken. Chris Justice?
Thanks. This was one of those issues at COL, and I was one of the delegates, and when this one came up, I feel like I had, Terry Weaver on one shoulder and, somebody else on another shoulder, because we do know that, that club density does matter so much at the front end. And what I would encourage everybody to consider is that this is yet another case where one size does not fit all. The club that I'm in now, we were absolutely equipped to start with 15. In fact, those last couple of members, were really difficult for us to get. But we were able to, finally get the 20th and get chartered. We would have been fine with 15, and I think we'd be the same size because we just had so many motivated, seasoned Rotarians. That being said, if this is like a startup with just, or brand new Rotarians, they're not going to see that same success level. So we have to be, I think a little bit more choosy about, how many clubs like that start out with. So I would just encourage everybody to look at each situation and consider that fact scenario. And hey, if the opportunity presents, it's 15, mostly strong seasoned Rotarians and they're ready to go, let them go.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. Sarah?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. I'm glad to hear everybody else's comments. I might be in a different, this might be unique, but like the club that I'm in is the original mothership and had spun off 3 satellites at different times that became their own clubs. And I think there's like this nervousness about starting satellite clubs because they're just worried that people are going to break off of us again. So I've been proposing an impact club for that reason. Anyway, Al was trying to educate me. I probably don't even understand it all yet, but I don't know. I could see maybe it's just the more traditional club that I'm in that they wouldn't want somebody to kind of break off on their own. But that's short-sighted, I realize, for the overall Rotary.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Mark, I saw your hand up there and it went down.
No, man, I was just clapping.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Al, I'm watching the chat for you, and it looks like Carrie put in some ideas that kind of speak to what Sarah's talking about as well. I don't know if she wants to add anything to that audibly or not.
Yeah, just what Terry is pointing out here is that on the Zoomification call that happened on Monday, they're basically saying it's the district's call. If they want to say that clubs cannot charter with less than 20 members, they can do that. And in Terry's case, he said that would be his preference for his district. And it's really, and I think it also speaks to what Chris Justice was saying, was it really think it depends on the makeup of those members. If you've got experienced members that might be breaking away from a traditional club, and helping to form a new standalone club and really have a lot of energized and energetic new members coming in, maybe 15 is the right number. But if not, maybe you need 20, because there are definitely some challenges of only having 15 members. I mean, you've got challenges like burden on the leadership, limited diversity in skill sets, lower visibility, reduced project capacity. So there are lots of things that are going to be challenges, but there are a lot of challenges that can be overcome with the right set of 15 people. So, I think the argument that we heard in Chicago was that with 15 people, it's easier to get that club up off the ground. Those last couple, as Chris said, those last couple of members can be difficult to find. And if you've got the right group of 15 members to get that club started, get them energized, get them moving forward, and adding members to that existing club in a quick fashion. So that was the argument for reducing the number from 20 to 15. And I hope that everybody on this call conveys that possibility back to their district. Is the district call whether they implement that or not. But I think it gives us, as Ken said, another tool in our toolbox. Also, you have to look at what's that do to the possibility of companion clubs, to traditional clubs that were thinking about forming a companion club with 8, 10, 12 members say, well, we can form a standalone with 15. Why don't we just add a couple of more people and maybe break off and form a standalone club? Is that a challenge? Is that something we need to be concerned about?
Well, I think you raise a good point. Until now, the clubs that are at 15 are the ones that have slipped to that level. And now we stand to start hearing about clubs that are starting at 15, which are, equally fragile, as Terry points out in the chat. Either way, whichever you may be, starting out of the gate strong with 15 or being down to 15, not only is the club creation important, but the support of it moving forward into the future, either by its neighboring clubs if it's standalone, or the club that sponsors it if it's an offshoot of an existing one. And Carrie White, now let's see, who did I see? Carrie Gray.
Yeah.
You had mentioned some of those arguments as well. Did you want to speak to any of that you put in the chat?
Yeah. And Sean, by the way, my maiden name is White, so the fact that you called me Carrie White is very funny. So
Well, I've had that in the back of my head for some reason. Now I know why. Thanks for refreshing my memory. I appreciate it.
yeah, I think so. I mean, I come from a very traditional 110-year-old, 170 member club, but 50 of those members came because of our impact club. So, but even my club, with our impact club only being 16 months old, is questioning whether it should continue to remain its own standalone, companion club, or whether we should just fold all those people into our home club. Because as we've been building the plane, as we've been flying it, we haven't, I don't think, perfected how to treat the impact club. We've just treated it as a third type of membership, really, from a marketing perspective in our home club. And I think, so I've convinced our leadership to not do that yet, to let's try and give it some more time. Let's try and figure out a real kind of structure for that companion club. But I think that any kind of, whether it's best practices or something that could help clubs that are thinking about forming companion clubs, in terms of, not necessarily this is the best way to do it, but like these are the ways in which you can do it that have been successful, and find the structure that works for you and your club, I think could be really helpful. And then I think from a messaging perspective, I mean, just the things that I hear, it's like, well, why create a companion club? Why don't we just create another membership level in our current club? And well, what are the differences and benefits for being a member of the traditional club versus the companion club? And then from the home club's perspective, how hard is it going to be to manage that companion club? We can barely manage our own club. So, those kinds of things I think are what we're hearing most from people, and would be helpful to have some messaging around that, as well as the best practices in terms of like onboarding and managing and engaging those members of that companion club.
So case specific massaging, is that what I hear you say?
I would love to chime in on this because I saw it in the chat. Would it be okay?
Albert, you don't mind allowing Renee to go before you? Go ahead.
Oh, no,
No, Renee,
no.
chime in.
Go ahead. I wasn't
in.
sure that was directed in a particular direction. Sorry.
No,
If
go
you're
ahead, Renee.
prepared, you go first and then I'll follow up because you might be saying the same thing I'm already saying. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, here's how I see it. I think the core to all of this is leadership. Why would you ever think about creating a new club if you can't get a president, someone to be president-elect and president nominee over the next couple of years? So I think it's all based on individual circumstance. I, for one, do not like standalone clubs. I would rather us have 3 clubs within Indian Land, in the club that I'm in now, 3 satellite clubs. And if they decide to break off, great. That's more Rotarians is what we've got. But if you don't want to take on the burden of having your own treasurer, your own secretary, having to have a club president, satellites work, companion clubs work. But I think it all nails down to, where are you with leadership? If you don't have the leadership in place, you're setting yourself up for failure. I like having the 15 to start off a new club. I like having options. it doesn't mean I need to exercise that option. So that's how I see it.
Well said. Renee, you want to go ahead and add to that? And then I think Terry.
That was an awesome response. And I'm going to say something similar in that I think it's preference or it's up again to the leadership and their ability, the balance between innovating just to innovate and then innovating because there's a club or community need. That's the conversation. But what I would add to that is that some people have skill sets that others don't. And what may come really easily to someone else may be a huge struggle for me. I was on the Rotary Branding Center making flyers the other day, and it's just something in my head. My brain works faster than my fingers, and I could not get the thing to work the way I wanted. And I just kept saying, if there is someone else out there that is much better at this, that would have already done it 5 hours ago. I'm the one that's doing it right now. There are skills that we have and skills that we don't. So while some clubs might jump on the opportunity to do something because they are prepared, they have the leadership, they have the ability, they have the people with the skill set, the leadership knowledge, that will be easy for them. And it might be a daunting fact for another club to consider that. And so again, we need to get to know our folks, get to know our leaders, and really be able to vibe on which one's going to be the better fit for them. Because we don't want to innovate just for the sake of innovation. That's, we're trying to build, not, shred. So thanks for that. And thanks for letting me chime in.
Absolutely. Terry, I think you've got some things to share about overcoming objections as well. Do you not, sir?
Sure. One of the big objections we've always heard is our club is penalized, if you will. Some people think this idea of watching your attrition is scorekeeping of some kind. And our club is, penalized if a satellite spins off and makes our numbers look bad and all that sort of thing. We have resolved that in the Membership Success Center as of about the past 2 weeks. And this feature is out there in the field now. What we have done is we've come up with a way that we can bias out the effect of that merger or spinoff from the club that was affected. And this is one of those examples. This is the club in my own district. And you'll notice these red triangles. You haven't seen those before. These are indications that this data has been adjusted, and some explanation in the mouse overs as to why that is. Now, this is a club who had a high attrition rate to begin with. 37% is the adjusted number. It looked more like 70 with the departure of the satellite. But if you scroll down further, if this is the case on a club, now I'll mention that I need to hear this from the front line because we have no way of seeing this in RI reports. But in this case, this club actually in the same year brought on 20 new members and then spun off, brought on 19 new members and then spun off the leader of that, who was a existing Rotarian, plus those other 19 to charter a 20-member club. So in this case, their attraction has been adjusted down by 19 members. Of course, that's averaged into 3 years. And their attrition has been adjusted down by the spinoff of those 20 members. And I'll show you how that looks in other reports. For example, the Membership Growth Index report. There we go. Now, what we can't do is we can't adjust their starting and ending counts. In this particular club's case, it all happened in 1 year, didn't even affect their starting and ending counts. But this is another indication that this club data has been adjusted, and go back to the goals page to see what those adjustments actually were. So I think we can explain to clubs that we have now come up with a way that doesn't exist in any other systems to bias out that effect and to, shall we say, normalize what the club actually looks like. I don't want to take the time to navigate over there, but in another district, we had a 29-member merger that made one club just look awesome in terms of attracting new members. It turns out after we biased out the 29-member merger, that club had attracted only one member actually in a 3-year window. So I think this would be very illuminating.
Fantastic. That certainly will help defeat that cannibalization argument that I hope I didn't just steal your idea, Mark, but I do see your hand up next.
Well, I love the word cannibalization. Please stop using that, everybody, please. But Terry, thank you for at least doing that to some extent. I mean, I think we should go the other way. If they're doing this and they're splitting off, I mean, I love the idea of club mitosis and to where we're splitting and growing. That is the key to growth. And we should almost reward these clubs that are doing that. There's no, if we could somehow make it even more incentivized to actually start a club and have it split off and be its own club, that's the goal, right? I mean, so I would encourage that we could somehow get this to where it's rewarded for people that are doing that. So I thank you for at least taking the first step.
I somehow backed myself into creating an analogy of that very thing lately. If let's say you have a glass of bourbon and you have one giant ice cube, it takes longer for that ice cube to melt out into the bourbon than it would if you had a bunch of little ice cubes, right? I mean, they melt more quickly. They integrate with your drink more at a much greater pace. So while that might be a loose and somewhat inappropriate analogy, you're right. If you've got all these things that some people see as being fractures, what you've really got is more opportunity to jump onto that surface area that you've created.
Club mitosis, man. Club mitosis.
Right on. Well, I didn't know this was going to turn into such a scientific call. We're doing great here. This is fantastic. Michael, I see your hand up.
Yes, I'll build on what Mark said. My club has started multiple clubs in its past and or spun off clubs. And I have to tell you, we are still milking the fact that, did you know that 20 years ago we started your club, or 20 years ago we started this club or that club? I mean, you can milk it forever that you are the club that started this club and take great pride in it. So I wouldn't worry about the fact that you're going to lose members because you're going to get a lot of PR out of it.
Well said, sir. Anybody else have any thoughts they'd like to share? Trying to be mindful of the time, but I don't want to cut anyone short either if you have something that you'd like to bring to the group. Okay, Al, anything else you'd like to deliver?
No, Sean, that's it. Thanks for the time.
Yep, thank you
Thank
for
you,
the
everybody, for your input.
Well, I want to provide everybody with at least one reminder, and probably more than that once I get rolling. Only 11 of our 17 districts ICAs reported updates to the spreadsheet this past month. And we've already established that we've all been busy and there's a lot of balls in the air right now that we're all trying to juggle. But it did lead to a conversation that we had with our director. And I think the idea moving forward is that after having some conversation with he and with Terry and our incoming RMC, Chris Justice, each district's ICA and the governor chain is soon going to be receiving an invitation from that district's corresponding ICA team member to start having some discussions about what ICA and Z can look like moving forward, so that basically the system in general is more efficient, but certainly as it pertains to each district, and making sure that that information gets shared and we're able to provide it with Patrick and he carries it to the board. And anybody have any thoughts or comments or questions about that? Albert, I see your hand. Go ahead, sir, please.
What I think you should do, Sean, is the folks that got it in and got it in time, you should give them like a $5,000, $10,000 award, and just those people, and that would encourage others to do that. But if you want to up it to 20,000, I'm okay with that too.
Okay, Brandon, I see you applauding that. Do great things, right? 7690.
Do good stuff.
See, I'm never going to get that right, man. There's just too many variations.
Hey, give Albert $20,000. Come on,
All
I'm
right.
going more.
Albert, we will watch your giving report. You may see a spike in that soon.
I would
Not
vote-
monopoly money now. Needs to be real
Donation made
cash.
from District 7690.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, be careful. That's how you get new jobs, is you open your mouth at the wrong time. Anybody else have anything they want to share with the benefit of the group? All right. Well, as we anticipated, there are a few people who normally would contribute to the discussion who are unable to be here. So mathematically, it's to be expected that this call may be run a little shorter than others. So if there's nothing else for the benefit of the group, let me just give you some updates in the form of a wrap up here. Let me share my screen. Can everybody see that? Thumbs up from somebody. Yes, Al, got it. Thank you. And let's start with some dates to remember as well. This weekend, for starters, May 9 and 10 is the district team. There's the T word still being used. You're going to get the Rotary police all stirred up using that word. But nevertheless, we're in Richmond this weekend. Hopefully, many of you plan to be there. We've got some traditional things that are going to be further explored. We've got some new things that are going to be lab tested to see if they work as well. There's the breakouts are not as siloed maybe as they arguably have been in the past. There's going to be some representatives of more than just one core principle of our district administration that are teaming up to present some things in new ways. And then after this weekend, we've got what you would expect from our monthly calls. The Monday that follows it is the monthly MAP membership action plan call or webinar. Also, the next Monday on the 19th, the monthly call that is led by our RC team that primarily invites the membership chairs, their committees, and the governors as well at 5 o'clock. Then there's that dreaded deadline of May the 20th, Tuesday, where we ask that all the district ICAs have checked their box and made sure that the numbers are updated on the spreadsheet. If you have any trouble in doing that, please let one of us know. We can guide you through it. Then the first Monday in June will be the next Zoom formation call. Those have really been heated up lately. And then the day after will be the next call for this group, Tuesday, June the 3rd at 5 o'clock. So I leave you with this. Today is Tuesday, May the 6th, and as such is National Nurses Day. So for those who are situate out in the medical community, they should absolutely be recognized. May 6th is also No Diet Day, if you weren't aware. So the moral of the story is that if you're not in the best shape, smile proudly and hug a nurse. That's how I make those two reconcile, I think. So with that said, anyone have anything they would like to share with the good of the group? If not, I put the link to the video recordings in the chat. Make sure you check those out. If you are traveling to Richmond this weekend, be safe. If you are traveling elsewhere at a different time, I ask that you be equally safe as well. Thank you all for being here and sharing your time with each other and your stories and your trials and tribulations. These continue to be prove to be beneficial and meaningful for all of us. So go out, grow your district, do what it takes. There are no rules, and the Rotary police are slow, if they even exist. So bless each and every one of you. I'll see you in a month, if not sooner.
See y'all this weekend.
Thank you.
Weekend.
Thanks, Sean.